A rare thing happening mid-August for the Washington Commanders. The NFL franchise is actually getting healthier. That and more on today's episode of Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, everybody, to today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, David Harrison, credentialed member of the media, covering the Washington Commanders for Sports Illustrated's CommanderGameDay.com. And I'm here with you every Monday through Friday. Greatly appreciate you coming through today. Everydayers, greatly appreciate you coming through every day. This is, of course, your daily podcast covering the Washington Commanders. If you haven't already, you can subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you are listening to today's episode, in which we are going to hear from offensive lineman Andrew Wylie, wide receiver Terry McLaurin. We're going to cover our day 13 edition of Eye on the Tiger, our daily watch on Jayden Daniels, Washington Commanders rookie quarterback. But we're going to start off with the Washington Commanders getting a little bit healthy in practice this week, especially on Tuesday. So if you want to discuss any of that or anything else we discussed in this episode, or really anything Washington Commanders related, all you got to do is reach out, send me a text message by becoming a Locked On Commanders insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders. And from there, you can send me your text messages, and I will be sending you text messages in the form of bonus content. We're going to do some insider Zooms again here coming up this week and this weekend. And, of course, you're going to have insider texts from games, practices, press conferences, all that kind of good stuff. No apps, no hashtags to worry about. Nothing. Is just text messages to and from your phone. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down, the sport stops sporting like we want them to, but FanDuel lets you stay competitive. Go to FanDuel.com to get started today. Andrew Wylie and Darrick Forrest, along with safety Tyler Owens, all three guys back at practice, back in full team sessions and in pads. Andrew Wylie, probably the biggest part of this equation here, the right tackle, has been held out of team sessions for quite a while now. Been able to do some individual work, but hasn't really been able to do the full team sessions, and that's what we hope to see him do against the New York Jets, but he wasn't there. And, of course, going back to the New York Jets joint practice and then going to the game specifically, at the joint practice, they at least had Cornelius Lucas, but he unfortunately had to miss the game due to a personal matter. And so you had guys like Chris Paul, who are NFL guards, kicking out to tackle to kind of try to fill in the spaces. So getting Andrew Wylie back, very important for the Washington Commanders as they continue to go through this preparation of getting their roster set. And we talked to Andrew Wylie after practice. You're going to hear from the offensive tackle yourself here in just a little bit, but also safety Darrick Forrest. And, of course, Defoe and his injury history going all the way back to last year. This is a guy who was on a very, very high northern trajectory going back to the 2022 NFL season. And then coming in 2023, all the chaos that kind of happened with the team, his injury and all those things happening, kind of derailing a lot of that progress he made. He is listed as a second team safety on the Washington Commanders depth chart. So you're happy to see him come back, because hopefully he can work back in and maybe work his way back up to actually getting the reps in that spot. We'll see how his participation looks against the Miami Dolphins. Today, he was back in teams, back in pads, but he was getting most of his reps with like the third team defense, kind of the bottom of the barrel, kind of bottom part of the depth chart. But again, easing him back in. We've heard Coach Quinn talk about other players' injuries, guys like Brandon Coleman, guys like Johnny Newton, not just trying to throw them back into the fire, so to speak, but ease them back in smart and do things really a good way. And that's, again, something we talked to Andrew Wylie about, is how focused his staff has really been on helping these players get healthy, stay healthy, and make sure that when you get back on the field, you're 100%. And that's something that Andrew talked to us about. Doesn't feel like he's going to be on a pitch count, as they say, coming up here in the practice and the joint and the preseason game. And that's exactly what you want. You don't have to bring a player in and say, okay, well, let's give you a couple here, let's give you a couple there, and then put you in. No, we want to get you back all the way while we can. And again, rookie safety Tyler Owens got banged up a little bit in that preseason game against the New York Jets. He was back on the field in teams and in pads as well on Tuesday. And, of course, going back to Monday, when head coach Dan Quinn was talking to us about some of these players, and if they're not able to go on Monday, if they're not able to go on Tuesday, probably not going to go Thursday. If you don't go Thursday, you're definitely not going on Saturday. So guys like quarterback Sam Hartman kind of falls into that category. Brandon Coleman, Johnny Newton, all kind of falling into that category. So unlikely to see those guys. But again, seeing the offensive linemen come back, that's big. That's absolutely huge, especially as this team tries to get the starting five lined up. It looks like the starting five is essentially set, right? Tyler Biadasz in the middle, Nick Allegretti and Sam Cosmi at the guard positions, and then Andrew Wylie and Brandon Coleman at the tackle positions. The problem is getting those five guys reps to work together, especially live reps in joint practice in the preseason game, something they haven't been able to do yet. But the return of Andrew Wylie, kind of the first step in getting that process going. So that's really big. Some other news that we got Tuesday morning ahead of practice. Actually, funny enough, the news from the Commanders broke themselves as the press conference, the pre-practice press conference with head coach Dan Quinn was going on. Is that the Washington Commanders on Tuesday morning signed wide receiver Martavis Bryant and in turn released kicker Ramiz Ahmed. So Ahmed was the other kicker in camp. He was the first kicker brought after they had to get rid of Brandon McManus due to his allegations. They also brought in NFL veteran Riley Patterson. And honestly, neither guy had really kind of taken a grasp of that position and said, I'm the man for the job. I'm the kicker for the job. But if you kind of go kick for kick and you go consistency wise, Ramiz Ahmed honestly was kind of the leader in the clubhouse, right? I think that that's a fair way to put it. I don't have the numbers correctly in front of me, but they both missed significant amount of kicks. Let's just not, sugarcoat it here. But Riley Patterson missing some kicks worse, but also missing some shorter kicks that Ramiz Ahmed was able to make. I think at the end of the day, the Commanders can't necessarily be through the roof, happy about how this kicker competition has gone. But Riley Patterson certainly has the more NFL experience, also has the deeper relationships going back to his days with the Detroit Lions with some of the people here in the front office. So they kind of know who he is, know how he operates, and they just feel more confident sticking with Riley moving forward. I would probably expect to see another kicker. Keep your eye on the waiver wire as kickers get released from these other camps and other competitions. I would expect the Washington Commanders at some point to probably address the position again and maybe see if they can't renew this competition for Riley Patterson, who again missed a field goal during practice on Tuesday. But Martavis Bryant comes in. He turns 33 years old in December, so he's not a spring chicken. A little bit older for an NFL wide receiver. He's reuniting with head coach Dan Quinn after both spent time with Dallas. Martavis Bryant most recently was on the Dallas Cowboys practice squad. He brings size, right? 6'4" is what he's listed at. So he's going to bring that size, that red zone ability. Something that Coach Quinn said to us before practice, quote, Martavis has a really cool skill set. He's got size and length and the ability to use him in the red zone. So when you see him today, he'll stand out. He looks like a linebacker playing wideout from a size standpoint, end quote. I don't know that I would go linebacker playing wideout, but he is a bigger dude. He definitely does stand out among the Washington Commanders receiver group. What does it really mean at the end of the day? I think this team is looking for more explosive ability. They're looking for more downfield ability. And Martavis Bryant, someone who had his best days with the Pittsburgh Steelers, originally a fourth-round pick out of Clemson in 2014, had a suspension in there and then just kind of fell off after that. Last spent his active playing days with the Oakland Raiders, and that's how long it's been since he's played in a regular season game. As he was an Oakland Raider for his last regular season game actually in 2018. So it's been quite a minute. I don't know that I would get too crazy about Martavis coming in here and necessarily taking an active roster spot. I mean, I think there's certainly a little bit of opening at the bottom of it, but with De'Ami Brown kind of stepping up, I think Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Jamison Crowder, Luke McCaffrey, De'Ami Brown is in there, Olamide Zaccheaus. I think that's 6 guys right there that you can solidly say and project a roster spot for, especially Jamison Crowder and that special teams ability. But Olamide Zaccheaus is getting special teams reps as well. So if they feel like they can go with him over a guy like Jamison in special teams, maybe that opens up another roster spot. So there's still some conversation to be had there. But I don't know that Martavis is necessarily coming in to take one of those roster spots as much as maybe if there is an open 6th roster spot, maybe it's him. A guy like Bryson Tremaine made another impressive catch in practice on Tuesday. These other receivers haven't necessarily kind of come out and grasped the brass ring, as they say. Guys like Byron Pringle, who I thought would be a little bit more pronounced in this office, but he's still getting his legs under him, learning the scheme and language and all that stuff as well. So we'll continue to monitor that situation. That's some moves. Maybe we have some other practice notes, but first we're going to turn our eye onto the Tiger, Jayden Daniels, Washington Commanders rookie quarterback, day number 13, completing 95% of his passes in a padded and somewhat competitive practice. We will talk about all of that next on this episode of Locked On Commanders, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode of Locked On Commanders brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love sports so much, never want them to stop. But as the NBA playoffs wrapped up, the NHL playoffs wrapped up, the Olympics have been a nice stopgap in between those things. And Major League Baseball, playoffs are going to start heating up here pretty soon. NFL action, obviously, is back underway. Granted, preseason, but the regular season is right around the corner. But bottom line, sports just aren't sportsing the way that we want them to. But FanDuel lets us keep going all summer long. FanDuel is hooking up every customer with a bonus or a boost every single day. Right now, new customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. And Tuesday, the day that we're recording this episode, our Dinger Tuesday. Place a straight up to hit a home run wager on any Tuesday Major League Baseball game, and you'll get bonus bets for every home run that each team hits in that game. Of course, you can also put your money down if you want to on a week one matchup for the Washington Commanders, who are currently 3.5-point underdogs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Whatever it is, head over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Jayden Daniels completed 95% of his passes at practice on Tuesday. Padded practice, competitive practice. What a day. We're going to break it all down here in just a moment. Thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Fantasy Football podcast, where you get daily insight into the best fantasy draft strategies so that you can win your league this season. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Eye on the Tiger, day number 13, Jayden Daniels, rookie quarterback. And again, first team, of course, because he's the first team quarterback. In 11 on 11s, again, completed 95% of his passes, 18 for 19 throwing on Tuesday with a touchdown. No interceptions again. In fact, in 11 on 11 so far, he has thrown one interception. And if memory serves correct, did not throw an interception in 11s against the New York Jets either. So one interception this whole stinking time. That's pretty impressive. I don't care who you are, and I don't care if you're practicing against your own team. I don't care if you're practicing against another team. To go this long without throwing even one interception in practice in 11 on 11s is pretty stinking impressive. And then he adds a touchdown to it. First set of 11s, he threw two passes, completed both of them. First one was a left side leak out by running back Brian Robinson. Second one was a right side flare to Olamide Zaccheaus. And Jahan Dotson, I talked about this before. Cliff Kingsbury's offense really loves getting the ball in the hands of playmakers in space, and that includes getting the ball in the hands of playmakers quickly at times as well. Some of those seen right there. Second set of 11s that Jayden came out for, he was 5 for 5. First pass was a right side throw to Zach Ertz, who kind of just sat down in space. Again, we've been talking about how Zach Ertz has been just a detector for space, just open space detector. Crazy arm angle on the throw by Jayden Daniels. I was actually kind of standing, if you can kind of imagine, I was standing, so I'm looking basically at Jayden Daniels from his right side, right? So he's facing me. So I'm facing him on his right side at about a 45-degree angle. So when the ball is snapped, I'm basically looking right at the right tackle, Andrew Wylie, right guard, Sam Cosmi, and center. I'm like the right guard is basically the middle of my vision cone, if that makes sense. And the ball comes, so the ball is snapped, and because those guys are much taller than I am, I have a hard time kind of seeing Jayden a little bit for this specific rep. Next thing I know, I see the ball coming from between Andrew Wylie and Sam Cosmi, going right into the hands of Zach Ertz, and just a crazy arm angle, man. And everybody on the sideline just very impressed with that throw by Jayden Daniels. Second pass was a screen pass to Brian Robinson. Third was a right side hitch route run by Luke McCaffrey. Fourth pass of the drill, right side inside dig to Jahan Dotson. Jahan ran a really sharp route, really sharp cut, very solid catch. Good to see Jahan making that play. And then the fifth pass, a left side swing route to running back Austin Eckler. The next set of 11s was a 2-minute drill. So they came on the field. I think it was like a minute 51 left on the clock. They were at about their own 35 or 40-yard line. I want to say 35-yard line. Down by 4. I think they had one timeout. We don't get the script, so I'm kind of having to try to deduce all of this stuff. But I'm pretty sure that's what the full situation is. Bottom line is they're on their own end of the field. They're in their own end of the field. Less than 2 minutes left. Down by 4, so you need a touchdown. First pass, a speed out to the right side to Olamide Zaccheaus. Second pass, an over route run by Zach Ertz from the left side of the offensive formation to the right side. Had to make a sliding catch. Really nice catch. Really nice ball because there was a lot of traffic there. Jayden basically putting the ball where Zach Ertz could go make a play, but would not be put in harm's way. Really good play to see, or throw to see a rookie make, and then the veteran tight end helping him out. Third pass was also to Zach Ertz. This was on the left side, an out route run by the tight end. Fourth pass was the only incompletion of the day. A back corner end zone run, or a throw to Terry McLaurin. Still hit him in the fingertips. Like Terry went up, tried to get the ball. Honestly, if it's full contact, the defender's probably pushing him out of bounds anyway. So it probably is going to come down out of bounds. But Terry McLaurin got his fingertips on the pass. You like to see it. If you're going to miss in that scenario, that's where you want to miss, right? Next pass was completed, a fade route in the left side of the end zone. Terry McLaurin going up against Noah Igbenogany for the touchdown. So that 2-minute drill, very successful. Yes, it was against the backup defense, but you still love to see the precision, the decision-making, and the ball placement by Jayden Daniels. Very successful set there. Next set, 7 passes, final 7 passes of the day in 11s for Jayden Daniels, completed all of them. First one, a swing route to the right side of the formation to Brian Robinson, then a quick route on the right side of the formation to Mitchell Tinsley, a swing route to the right to Brian Robinson, an out route to the right to Jahan Dotson, Chris Rodriguez leaking out to the right, surprise, surprise, for another pass, a sprint out left to Jamison Crowder, and then a swing pass to the right side of the field to Austin Eckler to round things out. So a lot of quick passes, a lot of swing passes, screen passes worked on today, which also attributes to the high completion percentage. But it's something that we have actually seen Jayden be a little bit off on from time to time. Some of these behind the line of scrimmage throws. You saw a screen pass go over Austin Eckler in the preseason game. I still say that's more adrenaline than anything, but there's a reason these guys are working on this stuff for sure. But still, overall, padded practice, competitive practice. Believe me, Noah Monogany was not taking that rep off. He was trying to get that ball, trying to break it up. He was not happy when Terry McLaurin came down with it. So give some credit where credit is due. Some other practice notes: guys not practicing or not in pads, even if they were present at practice. Quarterback Sam Hartman, defensive end Dante Fowler Jr., defensive tackle Johnny Newton, linebacker Jordan McGee, running back Jeremy McNichols, offensive tackle Brandon Coleman. So all of those guys likely to be out against the Miami Dolphins in the joint practice and the preseason game. Everybody that was participating in individuals also participated in teams. Andrew Wylie, Tyler Owens, the safety, and Darrick Forrest being the main ones from that group. Some other notes here: Cornelius Lucas was the first team left tackle of Brandon Coleman, not being able to practice. Trent Scott also got some reps with the first team as the left tackle as well. So again, kind of getting both guys reps there. Tyler Owens, like I said, was back in his teams. Kaz Allen has been getting work with the running backs. I think that's very interesting and intriguing. Kaz, something that he's kind of struggled with here from time to time is catching the ball, fielding, whether it's fielding a punt or catching a ball in play coming off of a route. So giving him the ball as a running back or maybe on a swing or a screen where it's a little bit of a closer route, not as much of a dart type of ball. Certainly, the offensive staff trying to find ways to get the ball in his hands because he certainly can be dynamic. Still think he's kind of a practice squad candidate, but good to see the coaching staff doing some different things with Kaz, trying to figure out ways to get him involved. Dominique Hampton, the safety out of Washington, has been working with the linebackers. So that's interesting. Emmanuel Forbes, not back with the punt returners today. That's the first time I've noticed him not back with the punt returners. So again, take that for what it's worth. And then a couple of nice snags during practice by Bryson Tremaine, who continues to be one of the stars here of the preseason. And then Marcus Rosemead, Jack Saints, also made a really nice grab on the far sideline on a pass that I think came from Jeff Driscoll, if I remember correctly. So good plays by those guys. Want to give them a hat tip here as well. Coming up, you're going to hear from offensive tackle Andrew Wylie, talking to him about returning to teams this week, as well as some other things. And we're also going to hear from wide receiver Terry McLaurin. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you never skip leg day at the gym. Maybe you meditate every morning or every night. Maybe you do yoga, or maybe it's therapy day, or maybe it should be therapy day. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, friends and family pulling you each and every single way, big work projects and more, it is easy to let your priorities for your self-care slip. Even when we know that makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it because sometimes, let's be honest, we feel selfish doing things that are for us. But talking to someone who can see the big picture of your life without the bias, without the judgment, can really help you put things in perspective. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. So never skip therapy day again with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Commanders, we're going to hear from offensive lineman Andrew Wylie and wide receiver Terry McLaurin. We're going to start with Wylie as a one-on-one with me, starting off asking him about how it feels to be back with the team drills here at training camp.
It feels great, man. Miss being out here with the guys, man. So today was a great day. Really solid practice before we head to Miami.
And while you're, unable to participate in the team drills, what are you seeing from the guys who are kind of rotating in there and getting those reps?
Yeah, it was great. And, I did get some team reps today, working back into the team periods. And after today, I imagine that I won't be on a pitch count. You know what I mean? It'll be full go in Miami, all the reps. So, but a lot of guys are doing great things out there, man. I mean, everyone that's getting reps in the trenches on the offensive side of the ball is just, getting that good work in. So, I'm proud of all the guys.
Absolutely. How impactful can those joint practice reps for a guy like you be? You know, you've got the experience, obviously, but still getting that live action, not just in the preseason game, but also the practice. How valuable is that?
Yeah, it's very valuable, and it's a common thing, but it holds true to me that like practice is always harder than games. The practice reps, you get a lot more work. You truly get to work on a whole range of fundamentals, pass and run, and and it always proves to be a little bit easier on Sundays. It's true. It's very important to get those reps in, especially in joint practices. So I mean, it's great getting those live reps in.
And while you're having to miss on team reps while you're recovering, what are you working on yourself to kind of make sure you're still staying engaged and still getting up to speed with everybody else?
Yeah. So I've been keeping the conditioning up. Tested it out today. Feeling good. And then just staying with my fundamentals, doing O-line work, not necessarily, against a defensive, rusher, but. For the last 2 weeks, I have been getting a lot of offensive line work in. I've been doing indie and just, keeping the basics and the fundamentals there. And so, working into team today, knocking a little rust off for sure, but wasn't a big drop off at all. So.
And then a young guy on the opposite side, right, Brandon Coleman, was having some good days and unfortunately had to shut it down for a little bit as well. How do you help him kind of temper the anticipation of getting back out there?
Yeah, so he's a great young rookie, very mature. And, I just told him to hang around with me, this past week, kind of learn how to do things, make sure you're doing the right things, and, staying out the way in certain scenarios. And, he's very mature, young football player, and he's doing everything the right way. So he's gearing up to have a fantastic season this year. And we're going to need him out there. So
some anxiousness from the fan base and even some in the media about getting that starting five, as many reps as possible. Do you feel that sense of urgency as well, or is there enough time for you guys to still be able to focus on getting healthy and then get the reps that you need?
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you're back good before you get thrown into some team reps. And it's a real fragile line, and our training staff is real good at that. So you don't want to come back early and then having to, instead of missing one game, you got to miss 5. You know what I mean? So there's a great line of communication with the players and the training staff. And, in my case, it's great. They helped me a lot and, got me back fully, week 2 preseason. So, I know they got a good plan with him and he's approaching it the right way too. So.
And now we're going to hear from star wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who, of course, was talking about numerous amounts of things, but starting off talking about what he knows or what he's learned about new wide receiver addition, Martavis Bryant.
Well, obviously he's 6'3", 6'4", so he has the size and long arms. But I kind of do my homework on a lot of receivers in the league, and I just know he can run too. And so you have a big, fast wideout like that who can make plays above the rim, who can win vertical in the vertical pass game, win in contested catches situations. That's a big plus for you as a team and as a receiver. So he has a lot of skill sets along with the experience. He's been in multiple places, played high-level football, so he knows what it's supposed to look like. So I think he not only helps me and other things to think about while I'm running routes, but he helps our whole group.
You've been out of the league longer than you've been in the league. You can
Yeah.
imagine having to jump back in all these later and try what that would, how you do that mentally, physically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's definitely a grind and staying locked in, being ready for your moment. But when you see him out here running around and he's big, strong, and fast, he looks like he's in great shape. So that's what it's like sometimes in the league. You got to be ready for your moment and opportunity. And I feel like that's the reason why he's here, because he's taking advantage of those opportunities. So just as a guy who's been here, I just want to help him get acclimated and try to learn from him.
Do you remember watching him back in the day?
Yeah, I remember watching him in college. I didn't really catch a lot of Steelers games, but I just know he's a big, fast receiver. Like most receivers may not have that side, that combination of size and speed like he has. And just the way he attacks the football is something that really stands out to me. So obviously he just going to have to get a swing in the swing of this offense and get comfortable with how we do things here. But like I said, when you have a vet like that who's played a lot of football, I know he's going to fit in really well.
And just on day one here, was he kind of picking your brain on the sideline a bit?
Yeah, definitely. We're just first day we're kind of getting to know each other, but some things that he's seen around the league and some things that I've experienced here, and in my time in the league, it definitely helps. And so anytime I can learn from anybody, really. That's always been my mentality, whether it's a 10-year vet like him or, even some of our rookies and OZ who's come in and helped us a lot. So I'm just excited to continue to help him because helping him helps us. And I know that we're going to get along really good. And, we're just going to talk through things on the field and pick each other's brains.
DQ is talking a lot about competition, reasonable competition in every room. In your observance of the wide receiver room, especially now with the addition of Bryant, how do you think that's going to make the entire wide receiver room better?
Competition brings out the best in everybody, in my opinion. That's how I was raised. That's how I've come up in football, and I love it. Like, I run around every single day, just love competing with the guys, no matter I'm getting, starter reps, no matter if I have to take reps with the twos. Like, you're out here living your dream, and I think competition makes everybody better. And I think when DQ and AP came in here, that was the first thing they said, that competition was going to run this place. Like I said earlier in my interviews, it's not about the favoritism. The best guys are going to play, the guys who seize their opportunities and compete at a high level and show energy. So that fits right into my wheelhouse, and I just want to be infectious to our team because that goes a long way.
Hey, Terry, switching gears a little bit with Jayden, the ball to the other day.
Yeah.
What does that do for a receiver when you know contested catch, he's ready to put it up there still?
I think it's big on two folds with Dayami. Obviously, he's shown the ability to be able to stretch the field vertically, and I think he just continued to work on his consistency and winning at the catch point. And but what I tried to work with him with, and he's gotten naturally better just over his career, and you can tell he worked on this offseason, is winning at the line. I think that's really big when you're trying to win a vertical route, because if you're too busy trying to fight with the DB down the field, it's hard for you to track the ball and be ready to where the quarterbacks are trying to throw at the catch point. So I've just been really trying to help him work early so you can win late. And he's doing a great job taking the coaching from not only myself but Bobby and the work he's putting in on himself. And you can see the confidence starting to come with him, because when you start repping the little things in practice on the side during special teams drills, when you start doing it in practice, when you get one-on-ones, 7-on-7, then you do it in the game, you see guys' confidence start to go up. And we just want to need more of that, because there's going to be opportunities for him to make plays for us. And when it comes to Jayden, obviously, I just think he has a natural feel of where to throw the football. His anticipation is great. He loves to get work after practice, which I love that too. And it just allows us to come out here and start off on the right foot. And he does a great job of just putting enough air on the ball so we can track it, but also in certain situations where he has to kind of throw what we call like a two ball, which is a little bit more velocity. He has that ability to fit it and layer the throw as well. So it's just on us to be able to make sure we're there at the catch point, saving the red line, so when he throws those balls vertically, we have enough width so we can track it.
And that's going to wrap up today's episode. Coming up next, our next episode will be from Miami after the joint practice happening on Thursday. So this one dropping Tuesday afternoon. It's going to be Thursday afternoon before you get another episode drop. This is our third episode of the week. However, when I get to Miami, my wife is not coming with me. I will be alone, so I might get a little bit energetic and decide to drop a bonus episode. We'll see how the flight and the travel goes. Of course, in the meantime, if you got questions or comments, just throw them in the YouTube comment section or text me directly by becoming a Locked On Commanders insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders to become an insider today. Next up, make the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast your next listen of the day to get your fantasy draft strategies so that you can prepare to win your leagues. As always, thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day, every dayers. Thanks for coming through on a regular basis like you do. Until we speak again, if you're out and about, please be safe, be kind, and we will see you next time for another episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.